This is not the United States of Patrick Bet David. This is the United States of America.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see Socialist?
I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
But would you also be open to seeing somebody else I choose as a psychologist that may...
No.
You're not?
No.
When you're offering people here jobs, right? You're saying that. They would have to pay you money to get that. So in reality, you're trying to convince them to pay you money to be part of your company.
Claims of defaming. Be very careful defaming when you don't know the fact. Today, I'm surrounded by 20 anti-capitalists.
This is what happens when 20 anti-capitalists finally meet someone who actually built something. Tonight, we are breaking down Jubilee's viral debate with Patrick Bet David and asking one simple question. What happens when victimhood stops becoming a story and starts becoming a currency that wins elections? Welcome back to Free Market Network. Jubilee hosted Patrick Bet David in the middle of 20 people who think capitalism is the villain of their story. Coming up, you're going to see some examples of people who work 3 jobs and still feel trapped, while others start from nothing and end up hiring hundreds of people. I'm going to tie this all back to the New York City mayor election, where Democrat Socialist just won the mayor's race on the exact same talking points you are about to hear in this room. Let's get into it.
I don't think that incentives are only born out of capitalism. Most capitalist defenders say that incentive is because of scarcity, and people's ability to get what is necessary pushes them to work harder. I disagree with that. I'd say that some of our hardest workers are single moms working 3 to 4 jobs, and the resources that they're able to acquire compared to those that utilize their workers in order to build profit for their own companies is not equivocal.
So how would you do it? How would you change it?
Yeah, so I think that humans inherently want to be meaningful. They want to contribute to their communities. They want to contribute to society.
I think there's levels to it. You have the survival folks who work for survival to pay their bills. Some work for status, some work for freedom, and some work for legacy. The folks that work 3 or 5 jobs, to pay their bills and do what they're doing, if the incentive wasn't there, they wouldn't work 3 to 5 jobs. Some of the guys that build a bigger business that solve a lot of
Are
incentive.
you saying that it's an individual failure for these single mothers that are working 3 to 4 jobs?
For some of them, it is.
Interesting.
For some of them, it is.
I'm glad you bite that bullet, because most people are not going to say that it's a moral failure of people that are born into poverty that continue to live out cyclical poverty. Let me explain to you.
For somebody like me, I came from the single mother system. My mother was a single mother. We had, my parents got a divorce twice. They married each other. They divorced. They remarried each other, divorced again. I came up, we didn't have a lot of choices. I joined the Army, I got at that system, kind of wanted to see what I was gonna do for myself. Do I stay in the Army? Do I get out of the Army? I started working in sales. And then the incentive of working harder, eventually I built a good life for myself.
Again, you're totally dismissing the hard work that a lot of these people are putting into for just basic survival. I'd say that mechanics and plumbers and most people working blue collar jobs that are probably watching this video are working tirelessly day after day.
I don't disagree.
They still feel insecure positions to where they don't even know if they're gonna be able to afford rent in the next 6 months.
So let me ask you,
if most Americans have a $400 to $500 emergency, they can't even afford that with the basic savings that they have. So this is not something that we should celebrate as promises of a system that gives you more if you work harder. We should say that this is something that rewards few, and I'm glad that you're an outlier that's been able to build a lot of success for yourself. I know that you're a multimillionaire. That's fantastic that you have those resources. But the thing is that cannot happen for everybody in society. It's possible for each individual to do it, but not everybody can be a millionaire. That's guaranteed.
I don't think not everybody can be a billionaire or a millionaire, but I do think people can find ways to use their time to effectively increase their market value. And I don't think many people do that. When I talk to people and they tell me, I've watched this show, I've watched every one of these shows, I've watched every one of these Netflix shows, you can use that time to increase your market value.
This is the core clash. She says, look at all these single moms and blue collar workers still grinding and drowning. He says people move when the incentive is real. Survival, status, freedom, legacy. If there is no upside, nobody stacks 3 jobs. The system can be brutal, and incentives can still be the engine that get you out of it. The problem is clear. When you only ever look at the struggle and never the path out of it, what is there to be optimistic about? And that is exactly why this panel keeps going back to this.
So I think the issue is the framing of incentive here. Incentive doesn't disappear in a socialist or a communist society, it just changes and evolves. So we see in capitalism the incentive is obviously monetary gain, maybe even collecting capital itself. through land ownership. In a communist or a socialist country, you would see incentive would just evolve into, I know it's a vague term, but the common good. You have an incentive to do your chores around your house because you don't want to live in a filthy house, right? That makes sense. It doesn't have to be just monetary.
So you don't think monetary incentive drives people, or you're saying that people should be excited to do their job, whether they're getting incentivized for it or not? That's what you're saying.
People will be incentivized to do.
Give me a case study.
anything.
Give me a case study of that worked. Give me
Case
one case study.
we don't even need to look at case studies. We can just look at charity work.
Well, why
Do people not?
don't we actually look at a case study? You got two countries, North Korea, South Korea. One is communism and one is capitalism.
Yes.
North Korea's GDP last year was $23 billion.
Are we judging countries' values based off GDP
that's
and not
because
what
that's
they
a
value
job.
for
Freedom of speech.
our
You can't,
humans
like,
or-
if you lived in North Korea, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing right now. You wouldn't have a
Yeah,
voice. In South Korea, I'm gonna give you stats. In South Korea, their GDP is $1.7 trillion.
South Korea is also owned by like 5
70
companies
times,
in total in the entire
70
country.
times better
you
than
think
North
that's something to
Korea.
live by? If you
No,
aren't
what I'm
employed
saying
by
is
the
people
top
wanna
5
be free.
countries,
Do-
you are
do-
practically
do you like to
unemployed
be
in
free?
these countries.
Do you like to be free?
I'm not going to be free in a country like South Korea where I'm only employed
Do you
in
like
5
to be free
companies
to call
or no
somebody
job.
out like me? Do you like to be free where you can have a strong opinion? Do you like to be free to have your
I
dreams
like to be
as-
free, but that's why I'm anti-capitalist.
Well, maybe you ought to
That
move
is
to
why
North
I'm
Korea or
anti-capitalist, because
Cuba or
capitalism
Venezuela.
removes that choice. There is no real incentive of capitalism because the incentive is survival.
if I
when
were
you get
to-
into communism, the incentive is for the common
I
good.
love that. I got an offer for you before we move on. If I were to give you your $2,350, which is the cost to renunciate your citizenship, and I paid you your first class, flight to whatever communist country, and $20,000 of spending
me a
money,
communist country.
would you give up your citizenship to
Name
go
me
to
a
that
communist country and I'll move
Whichever
out there.
communist country you want to go to.
yeah,
Cuba,
then
we
that's
can give
not
you
a communist
Venezuela,
country.
we give you North Korea, any one of those you want
Those
to go
aren't
to.
communist countries, not
Choose
even.
any one of them. I'll give you a one-way ticket, and I'll fund it for you if you want to.
Is pressed for examples, she does what every online socialist account does. Throw away the math and say the common good like it's a policy. He goes straight into North Korea versus South Korea. The same culture, the same peninsula, but 2 systems. One is a prison camp with a tiny economy. The other is a global tech powerhouse built on markets, property rights, and yes, big companies. Yahoo News. You can hate the concentration of power inside some of these companies. Fine. Regulate, break up monopolies. But pretending there is a magical version of communism where nobody is hungry, everyone is equal, and innovation still explodes is a fan fiction, not economics at all.
I think incentives are exactly the fundamental problem with capitalism. Is that you say incentives are what make it work, and I think that's the whole issue, is that the primary incentives are either greed, amass as much personal wealth as you possibly can.
You think that's the problem? It's greed?
Yeah, exactly. And
Because you're not greedy at all.
And like you said, survival.
Yeah.
Right? So the person, working 5 jobs, that they're doing that so they
Sure.
they wouldn't want to do that if they didn't need to survive. But that's such a horrible dystopian world to live in. If someone has to work 5 jobs just to survive.
How did they get there? How much of that is on their decision making? How much of that is on their doing? How much of that is on the market where they're not finding ways to improve themselves?
It doesn't matter how much onus is on the individual. We want to create a world.
Of course it is.
No. See, we want to create a
onus
world
is on
in
you.
which people don't have to earn their right to
And
exist,
we
live.
We live in a country where majority of the world wants to come here. The most important citizenship country is America.
Right.
People give up their lives to come here. Have you ever lived in another country before?
No, not lived, no.
Why do you think so many want to come here?
I think the people coming here are coming from gang-ridden, corruption-ridden, violence-ridden.
You think that's just all it is? You think I came from a gang-ridden in Iran? I lived there 11 years.
I think the majority of certainly coming from South America.
Most people come here because what you're doing to me, you're sitting across from me right now.
Right.
Millions of people are going to watch this. In America, you can call me out. You can say whatever you want.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen.
Right.
You're free and safe here, right?
Sure. Freedom of speech has
You
nothing to do
can't
with
do that in
capitalism.
Iran. Of course it is. There's a lot of elements with America. You're talking incentive. The amount of benefits America offers against
Right.
other countries, it's so much higher, where somebody with big dreams, incentives,
Right.
they're willing to come and say, I want to come to America, please let me in. And
Right.
some come and take advantage of it. But to say the individual that's working 3 to 5 jobs. If you do that for a season, if you do that for 2 years, if you do that for 5 years, fine. If you do that for 20, 30 years, you're doing something wrong.
But the point is, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Those are the inalienable rights. We shouldn't have to earn those rights. We shouldn't have to earn the right to health care. Earn the right. No, because we just want to live, exist. We can't work our blood, sweat, and tears just to survive. That's a horrible dystopian world that we live in right now.
No, then what do you think we're here for? To just sit around and play video games?
What
do you think we're here for? To sit around and watch TV shows?
We're here
to sit and watch cat videos? What do you think we're put here to do?
We are here to create a prosperous community, to lift
everyone up. How do you create a prosperous community? How do you create a prosperous community? Matter of fact, for you, how have you positively impacted a community?
I guess volunteering, food banks,
volunteering, food. I appreciate you for doing that. Have you created jobs for others?
Created jobs? No, I wouldn't say so.
Why have you not?
I haven't had the ability to do so.
Do you think it's easy or do you think it's hard?
To create jobs is probably hard, yeah.
Okay, so the people that create jobs, you think they should have a little bit of incentive for having risked their life savings, spend time away their families to create jobs so somebody like you can work for that company?
Sure, but that is
the incentive.
And bravo for them, but that does not give them the right to pay themselves $2 million bonuses while their workers are scraping by at like $10 an hour.
You don't get to choose how much money I choose to make. That's not your business. That's my business.
I want you to pay attention to this line because it's a key giveaway. We want a world where you do not have to earn your right to live. That sounds compassionate. In practice, it means the state decides who deserves how much. In practice, it means the state and government decide who deserves how much. And the tax base is expecting to keep growing while work, risk, and responsibility get morally downgraded. Healthcare, housing, and food are real needs. But the second you detach them from any expectation of contribution, you have to replace personal responsibility with bureaucracy. Someone still has to make these life and death allocation decisions. You just swap a boss or a client for a politician or a panel.
What do we do to basically ensure that people like myself, who are currently, thank you to the United States, thank you to the state of California for giving me medical insurance to get blood work, for giving me food stamps so I can have food. I've applied to, I don't know how many hundreds of jobs. I can show you the receipts. I can show you the email confirmations. Like, I am trying my best to use my values with the freedom that we have
So if
here.
I give you a job, you would work 40 hours a week?
If the job is in alignment with something that's noble and good, I think I could. The issue is, and again, you may say that this is a personal weakness, but like right now, substitute teaching, tutoring, trying to help in that way is making it so that I'm able to scratch by.
Yeah.
But without the supplemental income and the help from the society of people who make more money, I'm going to not have enough food.
I want to address something which you made a point that I agree with. On why don't some people create wealth? In my family, when I was growing up, and I was telling this young lady over here, when my dad was a cashier at a 99-cent store, we've never owned an insurance policy before. My parents, we've never owned a house before. I've never lived in an apartment with a swimming pool before. We've never had a 401k stock, mutual fund, none of that stuff. I had no clue how money worked. So for me, when I got out of the Army with a 1.8 GPA, out of high school, I went straight to the Army because I didn't know how money works. If you look at our system today, in high school, we learn about a lot of different things. They don't teach us about taxes, finances, mutual funds, stocks, bonds. Colleges don't even teach a lot of that right now. So
Do you
come
work
out.
In a high school?
Did I work at a high school?
Do you have experience like me, someone who's essentially on those front lines working in?
I've worked with many high school teachers and the directors of psychology to talk to the youth. Yes, I have.
So right now, I'm in a position where I have options, like you said. I do have some options, but they seem to be somewhat destructive and exploitative of me, of my peers. So I'm trying to
I think you're too
discriminate.
selective for jobs right now. You don't have the ability to be selective at this stage.
Well, but the thing is, I do because I'm instilled with a freedom that is maybe God universe given, and I don't actually have to, because of the system, like you said, I don't have to play along with some corrupt game. So I gave up a career.
I think California is perfect for someone like you.
Well, thankfully, California agrees. But you mentioned earlier in a previous discussion that we have free speech, we can say what we want.
Right.
But the thing is, have you been punched on the train for how you look and how you share your ideas?
Do I look like an American to you? Do you see this nose?
No, I'm just asking.
I'm Middle Eastern. You know what's happened to this guy? You know what's happened to me when I was discriminated all over the place?
So do you really feel like that's free speech if you're being
I don't mind
punished
it.
by people who have prejudice against you?
I don't mind it because I understand there is risk that you may be disrespected. They're like here, I've been disrespected here many times. I've been offended here many times. A lot of you are coming here finding a way to attack me and tell different stories. I'm okay with that.
I don't want to attack you.
You're being very respectful. I'm not talking about you. But what I'm saying to you is, when you say, have you ever been punched in the face on a bus? You don't want to hear about what things has happened to me because of the way I look.
Because I feel
but
like
I don't want to use that.
You've been through a lot of trauma in your life, and now you're kind of clinging to things.
I'm not. What I don't want to do that.
You are.
I have my son is sitting right here, my 13-year-old son, my 4-year. I have 4 kids. I bring them everywhere. I want them to see that it's okay. People are going to disagree with you. You have to be comfortable with this.
All the time.
You are with 13-year-olds all the time?
Because of my job, because I'm a substitute teacher and a tutor. The thing is, you can imply many different things, and that is your right. But what I'm saying is right now, I care deeply about having a good experience. The incentive that I feel is for peace and prosperity.
I respect it.
And again, I'm using my freedom now, but the issue is you're saying we have all these options, but whenever I tour the globe, I see franchises that have monopolized pretty much everywhere. So when you talk about options, it's really, there's these select few people who have this infrastructure that's really benefiting them more than others, and without some sort of conscious, spiritual, moral awakening, what can we do except for beg and appeal and amass?
Well, no, you can't be too selective.
No one on the panel wants to say this out loud. People are not risking their lives on rafts to reach Cuba. They are risking their lives to reach the United States. Not because America is perfect, because the combination of freedom, private property, and capitalism provides so much more upside because America is perfect. But the combination of freedom, private property, capitalism still provides greater upside than anything any government has built. You are in the wealthiest country on earth with internet, access, and you are stuck working 5 low-leverage jobs for 20 years. The system is not rigged against you. Your strategy is. Capitalism is what built the greatest countries on earth. If you want to continue building the American capitalist dream, tap the like, subscribe, so we can reach more people who are actually open to this conversation. Back to the debate.
So one of the things that you have stated is that we have options, okay? So just to give you a little bit of my background, I come from a divorced family, and we lived below the poverty level from the time that I was born until now, frankly. So I'm one of those people that you're talking about that isn't pulling themselves up by their bootstraps enough, which, like, I didn't have boots to begin with, and, like, I don't know if you've ever had boots, but, like, legs are load-bearing structures.
I relate.
And, like, you can't really pull up a boot when you're wearing it, you know? So where exactly am I failing when I am working 80 hours a week? I am taking the only jobs that will hire me. I have put in 477 applications over the last 2.5 years. Not even gotten a call back once.
Why do you think?
You tell me. You're a job creator.
But I don't know your resume. You know your life better than I do. Why do you think you have not gotten a call back on 477?
Because I do not have a degree.
Okay.
Because I do not have a degree, because I could not afford one.
Okay.
I live in an area where the physical job market is very limiting.
Where do you live?
I live in rural Texas.
Okay.
So in that, like in the town that I grew up in, for instance, there are 8 jobs, period.
Does your family live there? Mom, dad, everybody's in that same city?
Everybody was at one point.
Okay.
Most of them are dead now.
Okay, sorry to hear.
It is what it is. It's poverty. You know, we're kind of used to that on this side.
Why do you feel like you're a victim? Why do you feel like you're a victim? Why do you feel like the way you speak, like, you know, you're the victim where all this happened to you?
Because I exist and things happen to
why do
you,
you see
and
yourself
as
as a
such,
victim?
things happen, and that's why I say that they happen to me.
You're a good-looking guy. Why
Thanks.
do you think you're a victim? Why do you think you're somebody that's got into a situation because it's not fair what happened to me? Let me give you a couple options.
Sure.
Are you open to leaving the city you're in?
I've already left it.
So what city?
I've left multiple cities.
So if somebody else gave you a job in a different place, you'd be
100%.
willing to move there?
100%.
Okay. On your resume,
It says that.
What do you have on your resume? Skill set. What do you offer?
Transportation expertise, logistics expertise.
You consider yourself a hard worker.
I mean, I feel like
You said
80 hours a week.
That's a
something like
hard
that.
worker.
Sure.
How about we do this? How about I interview you and I give you a job? Would
Sure.
you move to Fort Lauderdale?
Ooh, man, that's Florida. Sure, why not?
Would you move to Fort Lauderdale?
Sure, why not?
How about you and I document this? After this, you come, I do an interview with you, and I give you a job. And let's see what you do 90 days later.
Okay, and I'll look up your company and all that kind of stuff, and I'll see it. But
you
like,
see what just happened
regardless,
right there? But
Mike,
watch what you just did.
Sure.
You just said you applied to 477 companies who's not gotten back to you.
Yeah.
A business owner who's hiring aggressively just made an offer to you. You said you're willing to move. Then you said, I'll look at it. You became selective.
I didn't
You
say I look at it if
contradicted
you'd let me
yourself.
finish my sentence.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
I would like to look into your company to
Yeah.
see exactly what you guys do.
You would like to.
Because I don't know what you guys do.
Okay.
So as far as I'm concerned, I may be wasting my time going. If you guys are a finance company, if you guys are a bank or something like that, I don't have the certifications, I don't have the degrees. So even interviewing me would be a moot
What if I
point.
gave you a job, period, to work 80 hours a week? Would you take it? And I paid you a reasonable wage.
Are we talking a livable wage or a reasonable wage?
What do
and
you make
whose
right
version
now?
of reasonable are we
What do you
talking
make
about?
right
Your
now?
version of reasonable or my version of
But you
reasonable?
see, so now, for me, what I'm noticing from you is
I need specifics?
no, not necessarily. No, most of the people I hired need specifics. The difference is I'm trying to hire them. In this instance, you're trying to get a job and you're being selective. It's going to work against you.
I mean, I'm not trying to get a job. Originally, I was
My
trying to
offer is
ask you
off
where
the
the
table.
moral
My offer's off the table
Okay, that's
because
fine.
you're going to be difficult to work with.
Okay, sure. But my question was, where is my moral failing? Like, where is it that you are saying that I am not working hard enough and I am not doing
I just
enough?
experienced it right now because the way you just handled this situation.
Got it. So
here
I should
was-
accept anything
No,
that somebody
it's not-
gives me
not
at
at all.
first blush
No.
if it is a guaranteed thing.
No, not necessarily.
I agreed
but-
I agreed to do your interview. I agreed to be interviewed by you,
yeah,
and you
but-
agreed to consider me for hiring.
Yeah.
So therefore, I am taking that opportunity. I've chosen to. But because I am asking you for specifics, your immediate reaction is that, oh, well, you're trying to be picky. when I'm not. I'm asking.
specifics. You could have simply
said I need to look up your company. That's all I
you could have
said.
said is, I'm willing to have the interview.
And I
Right,
did.
You would have had the interview.
And I did.
No, you said it depends.
I said,
don't
yeah,
know.
sure.
Let me look.
Yeah,
Let me do
sure.
all
I
this
would
other
look
stuff.
into your company. That's all I said.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Let's watch this pattern here. Step 1, call the successful person elite so you never have to ask what they actually did differently. Step 2, when that person offers you a real action step, slam the door. No book, no mentorship, no plane ticket. Then the guy from Texas, 80 hours a week, hundreds of applications, no callback. He finally gets an on-the-spot job offer with national exposure, and his first instinct is to second-guess it. This is exactly the victimhood mentality and what it does to you. It makes opportunity feel like a threat, because if you accept it and win, you lose the story that has been protecting your ego.
What's the chances that any of you here voted for Donald Trump in 2024? Exactly, right? What is the chances that all of you here can't stand the phrase MAGA, Donald Trump, any of that stuff? Is that a fair assessment? Fair. Okay.
Yeah, so it's your
So
point.
think about it this way. So maybe you're right that the Democratic Party that's been earning your vote for a long time wants to keep you there because they'll
They
have
have
your vote
never
for the
earned
rest
my
of your
vote.
life.
They have never earned my
Who
vote.
did you vote for in 2024?
In 24, I voted for the Socialist candidate,
Who was that?
Claudia de la Cruz, I believe.
Who did you vote for in 2020?
I was actually not able to vote. I was in a hospital.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes,
Sorry to hear.
because of results of capitalism.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so I didn't have access to proper health care or even access to a proper job that would sustain me as a disabled person.
Are you comfortable being specific on what happened?
I
You
guess
don't have to
so.
if you're not
I mean,
comfortable
I'm
with it.
also mentally ill, so that was something I had to deal with. But I'm mainly mentally ill because I am disabled in a capitalist country.
Tell me more about mentally ill. Who qualified you as somebody that's mentally ill?
Me and my doctor team.
Who convinced you that you're mentally ill?
Me and my doctor team.
What's the specific category of mental illness? Is there one? You know why I asked this question? Let me explain to you why I asked this question.
So I don't even like the psychological industry. I don't really stand for like Sigmund Freudian politics or
Sure.
anything like that. So if you're
Yeah, I
going to
asked-
debate the
I'm
ethics
not.
of psychology.
I'm not. Where I'm going with this is going back to the same thing with if the money were to divide it equally, it'll
Yeah.
end up being where it's at within 5 years. My trouble is, in many cases, somebody you and I look up to will say something to us that we choose to believe for the rest of our lives. Unfortunately, it could be something where you have ADHD, you're mentally ill, you're poor, you're this, you're
But
that,
why-
and we get to choose to buy into that or not. And if you do...
So you're saying I'm not mentally ill or I'm not disabled?
I'm not saying you are or you're not. I would challenge it to go a little bit deeper to see if there's anything you can do about it.
So you're asking me about my health. You're asking me about my disability.
I'm not.
And my...
I will say we are in a market where, stay with me here, there is a market where there's profit to convince you to you have issues to take the medication because they're making money.
Yeah, but I don't
I'm
have
not
access to
supportive
the
of that.
medication. I don't have access to even a result or a solution to my disability as someone with a connective tissue disorder. It's genetic.
Have you been able to go to different doctors and get yourself tested? And
Yeah.
see? You have?
Yes.
And in California?
Yes, but not
And
enough.
who paid
I can't
for it?
find a specialist.
You can't find a specialist?
I can't find a specialist
Is
for
there
who I
anyone in your
am.
life that's
I
willing to
can't
pay
find
for a
anyone.
specialist?
Well, they could they would if they had money.
Anybody in
But
your
they, yeah.
Would you be okay if I pay for a specialist for you to go see?
Yeah.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see specialist?
I mean, yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm going to have you go see two. Where do you live in California?
Yeah.
I'm going to have you go see two specialists. But would you also be open to seeing somebody else I choose as a psychologist that may...
No.
You're not.
No.
So you simply...
choose as a psychologist. You're choosing who gets to determine what my mental health looks like. No.
Okay. Then I wish you nothing but the best.
This is where the debate stops being about economics and turns into social media culture in real life. She only foregrounds her health status when it is time to justify her vote against capitalism. Patrick Bet-David offers to pay out of pocket for multiple specialists and one psychologist that he selects, and she instantly regrets it. Why? Because if her situation improves, she loses leverage. The more broken she is on paper, the more moral authority she is allowed to claim in that circle. That is not compassion. That is a market for misery. And the commodity is how oppressed you can prove you are. Now, here is why this debate matters way beyond YouTube. Just days ago, New York City elected Zohran Mamdani, a Democrat socialist mayor who ran on rent freezes, higher taxes on the wealthy, free public buses, and more city-run services. The exact grievances you heard on the Jubilee stage: capitalism is cruel, housing is too expensive, healthcare is broken, the rich are hoarding everything. That message is not just a hashtag anymore. It just won control of the biggest city in America, the wealthiest city in America. A generation that was told, go to college, take on debt, it'll work out, watched asset prices explode while their wages stalled. In COVID, we had lockdowns, massive inflation, and now an AI shock that they just don't understand. So when somebody shows up and says, you should not have to earn your right to live, the state will guarantee it, that feels like justice, not a warning sign to them. The question for people who understand free markets and capitalism is not, how do we own the libs online? It is, why did we let corporate capture, cheap credit, and bad policies hollow out the middle so bad that a lot of the young people generally feel like socialism is a safer bet? Here's the simple truth. If you want capitalism to keep working, you can't just hand people a self-help book and walk away. You make the game fair by cracking down on real corruption, actually punishing fraud, and stopping politicians from bailing out the same giant players every time they blow up the system. By doing that, you get what capitalism is supposed to be and is: more competition, more small businesses, more chances for regular people to build something great. The people on this panel and all across the US who think socialism is the way to go lose the plot by thinking the answer is less market and more control, instead of fixing the rules so people can win. If you want more breakdowns that actually connect viral debates to real elections and policies, this is the channel for you. Drop a comment below if you think this socialist trend is going to continue, what it could mean for America. Do you think a Mamdani-style platform fixes anything or is just going to exacerbate the pain? Hit subscribe and I'll see you on the next one.